Okay, no, we're live. It always makes me like hesitate for a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours. I'm Nora. This is Sto, and this is the YouTube channel where we provide practical advice for independent artists. Are you okay? Where you get this authentically imperfect. Before we jump into talking to consumer, y'all, I just want to give. So you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I promise. I legitimately just poked myself in the eye. Oh my goodness.
Well, while Sto takes care of himself, I want to give a quick but very grateful shout out to Sandroid, who has been such a supporter of Office Hours, who shows up as much as they can here in the chat, sends in questions, sends donations. And I just wanted to take a moment. We didn't plan this, but because you're here and because we appreciate you, just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Like Sto and I, we talk about this all the time, but we do this for the community. We do this because we do want to create like spaces where all kinds of musicians can put out their art and be heard without having to participate in some of the shady parts of the industry. And those of you who show up in the chat, who subscribe, who comment, who send in donations when you can, all that stuff just means so much. And Sandroid's been with us since like, I don't know, the beginning. So I just wanted to take a moment. She was like, hey, y'all. And I just want to say, hey, back to you. And thank you, because it's just really encouraging and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting, any version of support is always meaningful to us, and just, again, been with us from the beginning. And it's just, it really does. It means a lot to us. And so we're thankful for that.
And also is kind of a really great segue. And again, thank you. We didn't plan this, to today's topic, which is talking about direct to consumer and talking about ways that you can build direct relationships and direct paths with your audience. And so that's what we're going to jump into today. If you have questions at any time, drop them in the chat if you're here with us live, or drop them below in the comments. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe and let us know what you think. And we're here to answer all your questions. I just said that. So Sto, take it away.
Yeah. Like Nora said, hit the like button. That's what helps us get in front of more people. That's what helps us get in front of more creatives that need our advice and stuff like that. And we're at 701, I think, subscribers and stuff like that, which is insane. We're super thankful to have all of y'all watch us and support us on a bigger level. And so today is all about direct to consumer, what it means and how to do it. And obviously, again, we're giving a condensed version here. There's a lot that goes into it, but and how to do it. I feel like a lot of what happens with direct to consumers that I'm sorry, I saw something like late towards the end of last year where there was this perception that it was new, and that is this new trend that's going to be coming up in the next year. And I remember side-eyeing that because it's been around since the beginning of time, essentially. And so that's what this episode is about. And it's important because,
Sorry. I was like, but like backpackers, like that built hip hop were direct to consumer. People selling CDs out their trunks was direct, like all direct to, I think sometimes the music business likes to use these like fancy words, but all direct to consumer means is that you as an artist have a direct pathway to your audience. There's no like middle person. There's no Spotify. There's no Instagram. There's no middle person navigating or mitigating your relationship between, not say that you're not using tools, but there's no label or there's no middle person interfering with your relationship to your audience. And they get what they need from you and you give what, like, it's just a very simple, straightforward exchange. And so when I heard you say that, I was like, what? Because to your point, like this is age old.
Well, clear, like the label is a label is a middle person. Like
Right.
a lot of artists that like I understand the idea that I need to be signed and et cetera, but like that's that's a middle person as well. So direct to consumer means you yourself as the artist has a direct path to whoever makes a purchase, to whoever's listening to your music. And again, that's not new. Even if we really want to get into the weeds, like even something as simple as like an open mic is technically direct to consumer because you are talking to the person who is listening afterwards, versus waiting for something else to happen.
So like the problem is, right? A lot of artists make art, make music, make whatever, and they put them on the internet and they think that that's the plan. And this is where like if we're talking today about what is direct to consumer and how do you do it, you have to think about who's your audience. You have to think about what do they need and what do they find valuable. You have to think about where and how do they find you, and then you have to make it easy for them to make that transaction. And so one of the things like to really think like make music, put it on the internet, not a business platform, not a business plan. So you have to think not a business plan. So you have to think about how are the ways that you want to generate income and what are the different ways that you can do that with your audience. That doesn't make Does that make sense? It's like you have to think about what are your income generating streams and then how do you get that in front of your audience? And so from if you're working direct to consumer, you have to understand where your consumer lives and how they spend their time and who they are so that you can build a relationship with them. And we talk about this all the time, so that you build a relationship with them where they like you and they trust you so that then they want to invest in you, and then that's where you make the pitch and you sell the thing. But if all you're doing is putting your music on the internet and expecting people to buy it, you're not thinking strategically about all the ways that you can A, connect with your audience, and B, get them to want to invest their money and or their time in you.
And again, the direct to consumer approach means that like it's not just a link to like don't take this as like, oh well, I'm directly sending a link, so that counts. And it's just like, I mean, it does technically, I guess, but you're trying to create a connection here where trust is built, where a relationship is built to where they feel that they have to support you because they want to see you succeed. Um, all these other, like, I understand wanting to fit within the algorithm and wanting to go viral and all that other stuff, but there's a lot of passivity in that. When you're direct and you're able to have that conversation with anybody who's supporting the movement and what you're creating and making, um, we talk about this all the time. It's like you don't want fans and supporters to always just be observing the rollout. You want them to be a part of the rollout. And so, that means kind of taking the extra mile because again, if you just want them observing, that's what every other artist is doing out here. And that's how you separate yourself from everyone else that's out here. When it's direct, you're able to, again, it's not just about music to listener, it's about person to person. And you're able to really have something that's deeper than just, okay, thanks, you streamed my music X amount of times. It's, I feel like I know this person and trust this person and willing to support this person. There's something bigger at play here.
Well, and I think that's an important thing you bring up still. Like, it's important to know as an artist, what is it that you want from your audience? Do you want them to stream? Because that's one ask. Do you want them to buy tickets to your show? That's another ask. Do you want them to join your community or subscribe to your newsletter, join your Discord? Do you want to move them onto your Patreon or your Ko-Fi? Do you want them to buy merch? Do you want them to go to your Bandcamp and buy like a physical product? So one, that means you have to know what you want, A. And then B, it means you have to have those things or those channels available to your audience. So you funnel them. So you do a show or an open mic, you get a placement in a blog, or you go viral on social media. Great, wonderful. What are you going to do with that attention that you have? And so if you're trying to go direct to consumer, you have to be clear about what's the ask that you're making of your audience. And then that's where you have to make sure that the places that those asks can be transferred exist. So if you want people to buy an album, make sure you have your Bandcamp ready and active and the links are good. If you want people to join your Discord, make sure that you're keeping that community vibrant and you're checking on it every day. If you want them to buy your merch, make sure that your shipping is ready to go and you're writing cute notes that say thank you so that there's a personal touch. Like, it's so one is under, again, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I really want y'all to like let it land. You have to have a strategy and an idea for where direct to consumer happens. And it could be like you want it to be multi, you want to have different places where people can have like that touch point with you. But you have to do the kind of, and we talk about this all the time, like you have to do the foundational work. And then when you're interacting with your audience, you want to create experiences where they have an emotional response to you, right? Not a logical one like, oh, the music is good, but an emotional response where they're like, oh, this feels familiar, or it made me laugh, or I cried, or I got nostalgic, or it reminded me of, or I'm rooting for this artist. And then that's the thing that's going to make them go that extra step. You're not really speaking like for this direct to consumer where you're asking people to spend their limited time and their limited money on you. You're not really speaking to the casual fan or the rando. You're speaking to that person who's going to go that extra step, going to put that extra effort for you. And so you're going to treat them a little bit differently because you're nurturing a different relationship than that casual person, right? It's like, 100 people in your everyday life. Who are the 10 people that you might be checking in on, or like looking for their Instagram, or making sure that you're replying to their text messages before everyone else's? It's like that group of fans that you're investing in. And so it's also a little bit of calibrating where you put your attention and your energy, because if you can focus, and we've talked about this in our niche episode, if you focus on that, like that group, then they will be the ambassadors and the speakers and the advocates, and like they will carry you forward. So it really is about you doing your job as an artist in terms of having all these things in place, then building the relationship with your audience. And then when they do what you've asked them to do, for you to love on them and support them and celebrate them.
Right. And so there's a lot to unpack there. And so number one, part of it is leading your fans to that platform that is direct. It's so funny to be the get a website guy. And I've watched so many creatives over the years like actually get a website. But then they never promote it. They never share it. I see it so often, like way more than I'd ever think. And so part of it is you have to kind of train your audience to head in that direction, because otherwise they are just going to be on social media. I mean, me and Nora over the years, we've never negated social media as a vehicle or a venue to obtain fans. It's just you don't want them to simply stay there. You want them to slide over to where there's none of these distractions. And it's not even, we talk a lot of music here and creative output in general, but like the people that we're advertising to and marketing towards, they're getting bombarded from advertising from not just music, not just movies, not just books, not just entertainment, but from all different types of like, and y'all know this because open up your app right now and tell me how many ads you get that's from all over the place. And so that's what your fans are dealing with too. And so getting them off of this wild ass roller coaster that is social media and getting them on a website newsletter where there are no distractions, where you can talk to them directly and speak to them directly. There's no algorithm to mess all that up. That completely changes the game, not even just from a marketing standpoint, from a psychology standpoint. Now on your website, on your newsletter, you have their full attention. There's not a tweet right under or above. There's not a blue sky post or a thread or a Instagram post or a reel or a YouTube short that they can just slide right under. It's a newsletter that's right there in their email, right there. They can slide right through it. A website, it's right there. They can't, you know what I mean? It's not the same where you're getting bombarded from all this other garbage on the internet. And so sliding them over to your own platform makes a massive difference.
Well, and then what you know is if you have 100 followers and 50 of them subscribe for your newsletter and 25 of them open the newsletter and 20 of them click on the click, like, right, you're trying to reach that top, and I'm just making up these numbers, but like it's that top percent, because what you're looking for are who are the people that are willing to take action on your behalf. And honestly, like, that's important information to have. As an artist, you want to know, like, I think a lot of artists get caught up on the numbers. And sometimes the numbers can be a trap because you're so focused on having like the big numbers that you're not really looking at the quality of those numbers. Just because someone viewed your video doesn't mean that they like it, doesn't mean that they finished watching it, doesn't mean that, right? Like, so you really want to look at the quality of those interactions. And that's again where like your analytics are important, but more important is what are the answers that people are giving you when you ask them a question? Are they answering your questions? Are they even interacting with you? Because that's how you're going to measure their engagement and their investment in you. So that's one. And then the other thing is like, you don't actually need huge numbers for what we're talking about. You just need a handful, right? And there's like the rule of 10%, and there's the rule of 100 fans, and there's like all this stuff. But like, you just need a handful of people who are willing to do some work on your behalf, and then that will grow exponentially. So I really don't want y'all like, and I see this all the time, like artists will do an event and only like 10 people show up and they think it's a failure, rather than really then investing in those 10 people who showed up and making sure that you've gotten their contact and shaked hands and took pictures and thanked them and gave them a sticker and like made them feel so good, so that they go back and make 10 more people feel bad that they didn't come. So I really like, I know, especially in the world of social media where there's like so much pressure on the aesthetics and the performance of things, that's so irrelevant to this conversation. This conversation is really about like finding that small group and just letting it grow gradually and gradually and gradually, and taking the time when it's a small group to find out information, gather data, do focus groups, do research. I have an artist that I manage, and we recently needed to make a decision about a song to submit for this major thing or whatever. And we opened it up to his audience, and we're like, we're going to do a listening just come join us. Like, super last minute, super like, we didn't make a fancy flyer or anything. And I don't know, like 9 or 10 people showed up, and we had a really lovely, we listened to 3 songs. They gave their feedback. They got to ask him questions. We had a conversation. Now these artists, these people who showed up are invested in the outcome of this thing that we submitted for. And so now, and they got to feel like they were part of it. They saw the behind the scenes. They got information that no one else had. They connected with each other. And like, that didn't make us any money, but it created a community and built some relationships that's going to pay dividends in the long run. And so it's also remembering that direct to consumer isn't always going to be linear. Sometimes it's like straight transactional, but sometimes you're cultivating the relationship today for the ask that you're going to make 3 months from now. Or because again, like you think about how you build relationships with friends or your community or people you're dating or whatever it might be. It takes time. It takes effort. You got to check in. You got to ask how you're doing. You got to do all that stuff. And so it really is the same thing when you're building a fan, like you're building that fan relationship. It's not dissimilar to building friendships or building community or whatever it might be. Um, so just all that to say, like, don't get stuck on the numbers. And the lack of numbers is also useful information. It tells you what's missing and where are the areas that you need to do a little bit more work in.
Well, I just want to piggyback off of Nora's, like, even when if only 10 people show up, you have that's such an actual huge opportunity, because now you have the chance to focus on every single person that's there, and probably the chance to give them more than what you would have been able to if that room was packed out. And that's going to stick with the people that are at that experience. And like Nora just said, they're going to tell a friend, and then they're going to tell a friend and be like, yo, I have this super intimate experience with an artist that again, a lot of, casual fans or whatever usually don't get to have. And I promise you that sticks with them for life. And now they want to support, because even though not a lot of people showed up, they still showed up for us and still made it one of the best live listening experiences I've ever had. And I went in thinking that I wasn't going to get seen at all. And so I don't know. It's just like, I'm sure like Nora has too. We've both been in experiences like that where it's like, okay, not a ton of people showed up, but that's okay, because we got tons of actual, like, real emotional time with an artist that put their heart and soul into something. And now we get to actually not just listen to it, but we get to experience it. That sounds wild. It sounds corny, but that's real. Like, y'all can't tell me y'all just want people to just listen in the background about, you want them to experience the music. And so even when events are small, like, you have a chance to create something that's super intimate there. And so that's a prime example of direct to consumer, because now you really can be direct.
Well, and like you want to create something that stays with people, and
Right.
experiences will stay with people. There's something neurologically, psychologically, when you hear music with a group, you experience it differently than if you hear music by yourself. When you see people's faces, your brain processes that differently than if you're like scrolling and looking at images. So there's like actual science behind this as to why creating these like community experiences, showing up, showing your face, getting on Zoom, having like there's a reason why this stuff matters. And so the last thing I'll say as we wrap up this episode today is, when you've decided what you want as an artist, you've thought about your different income streams, you've thought about how you're going to bring your audience into that space, about the experience, you're curating them. You really want to center your audience in their experience, right? And so then what happens is artists are like, well, I have to promote it. And then what they do is just throw out a bunch of commercials. It's flyer after flyer after flyer after flyer. And let me tell you, like, audiences are smart. So we've evolved in how we promote, but when they see that reel, they still know it's a commercial, right? When they see that video of you talk, they still know it's a commercial. It might look different, but it's still a commercial. And so this is why you want to create these like other ways where maybe you're not even selling anything, but you're instigating the word? You're inspiring, you're evoking emotion, because then they'll come looking for you. Then they'll want to support you. And then you just make it easy for them. So, and I'm not saying there's no place for promotion. Absolutely there is, right? Like, but like that should be only 10% of what you're putting out. And the rest should be storytelling. And as humans, we respond really well to story. And so
Mm-hmm.
tell the story of your project, tell the story of your struggle, tell the story of why you're gathering community, tell the story about how you met a fan and what that meant to you. the more you tell stories, the more that's going to resonate with your audience in a way that then they will seek out what you're giving rather than you have to shove it down their throat. And that's where you have to get a little creative and maybe a little bit vulnerable, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to take that risk to connect with your audience.
Exactly. And I've had artists that are like, they're getting on the YouTube grind. They've seen some success on the reel system, or whether it's on IG or whatever. The short form content, like if we take a second, like it's so short that it plays out like a commercial. So if you're only promoting, it just plays out like the ads that we all hate to watch when we're watching television or whatever. But if you go the other route, and like Nora just said it, you're vulnerable, you're putting yourself kind of out there a bit more. It's not just about you, the artist, it's about you, the person, damn it. I don't know how many times, because we talk about this all the time, where it's just like, yes, promotion is important. We're never saying to don't promote, don't make that commercial style content. We're not saying that. But we've seen so many times where you just scroll through someone's stuff and it's just promotion, buy this, share this, listen to this. And it's just, that's no different from all the other forms of entertainment, all the other ads that people are getting bombarded with every single day, literally at a higher level than even 5 years ago. I almost swore there. I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying. And so when you take a second to be vulnerable and to just be a person and not just an artist that's trying to push something, that's when people start to connect. And then when you do start to push something, they trust you and are connected to you as a person, that they want to see you succeed. So now I do want to buy in. And that's a completely different ballgame.
People want to support people. Y'all have heard me say this before.
People
want to support people. And so your audience is people. It's not bots. You're not creating for an algorithm. You're creating for people. And you also have to show up as a person. And that's where that connection happens. And that's how you'll build fans that will be your fans for a lifetime, rather than fans who just chase a trend. As we wrap up this half hour, I will also say that Sto and I are people, and we appreciate you. I was trying to make a cute transition. Sto and I are people. We really appreciate all of you for showing up and supporting us. If you need more tailored, like specific stuff for you on what direct to consumer looks like for you, reach out to me, reach out to Sto. We do consulting, we do one-on-one work, we do two-on-one work. Make sure you hit the subscribe and the like. And if this resonated with you, share it with people. This is how I say this every episode, but this is how we create a new normal in the industry where independent artists can thrive without feeling like they're in competition with the majors or with all these other people. And if you heard anything valuable, send us a Venmo or a Cash App, put office hours in the line, and it'll go towards supporting me and Sto and like making this better and better and better for you all. And as always, if you have any questions or topics you want us to cover in a future episode, drop it in the chat below. We respond to all your feedback. We appreciate all your feedback. And I'll say this, since we talked about websites and newsletters a little bit, I'm teaching on March 18th and March 20th a newsletter workshop. So if you don't have a newsletter yet and would like one, definitely tap in with me for that, so that you can get you'll leave the workshop with a draft of your newsletter ready to go. And especially with everything that's happening on social media, like you don't want to be censored or worried about them taking over your account. So lots of ways to connect with your audience. We appreciate all of you for connecting with us. Final words, though?
Drink some water, stretch. I know the sun's up a little bit longer these days, but still, let's get a stretch in. Let's drink some water. Let's talk nice to ourselves. Let's get a website. If we can't get a website, let's get a newsletter. Yo, hit the like button. Seriously, hit the like button. That's what helps in front of more people who need our advice. Nora can't clown me for this one. I got Angel Reese, okay? Let's go. It's time to cook. No LeBron today. We got Angel Reese right here, okay? We're out of here in a little bit. Thank you for subscribing. Share this with somebody. That's the part I forgot. Share this with somebody. We'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about housewives.